Welcome to the debate. Our focus today is on a seemingly common habit in later life, the long afternoon nap. But the research detailed in the source material suggests this habit is, well, it's far from benign, especially when it stretches past 60 minutes. So we're asking a really critical question today. Is excessive daytime napping primarily a harmful, active biological mechanism that drives cognitive decline and pathology, or is this long nap fundamentally a critical, though worrying, symptom of deeper, pre-existing systemic failures like chronic inflammation and vascular disease? I'll be arguing that the long nap is a pathological driver of decline, that it actively sabotages the brain's ability to clean itself, which accelerates a very dangerous downward spiral.
And I'm coming at it from a different angle. While I fully acknowledge the profound risk, I maintain that the long nap is primarily a massive biological warning sign, a necessary, maybe even protective response to profound underlying sickness. Focusing only on restricting the nap, it risks ignoring and therefore misdiagnosing the root causes, which the source material clearly identifies as vascular failure and unchecked inflammation.
I see why you emphasize those underlying conditions, I do. But let me give you a different perspective on causation. The overwhelming evidence detailed in the material, it points to a scenario where the nap is highly causative, not merely reflective. We know that seniors who nap over 60 minutes daily have a 40%, that's a huge number, a 40% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. And the mechanism for this risk is now incredibly clear. The primary danger is the direct mechanical disruption of the brain's specialized waste clearance machinery, what we call the glymphatic system. Think of it as the brain's nightly washing machine. When a senior takes a lengthy nap, say 90 minutes, they prematurely clear away their sleep pressure, which is the chemical buildup of adenosine. This essentially empties the tank, sabotaging the critical deep sleep they need that night. And without sufficient, structured, deep sleep at night, two things fail. First, the brain cells don't shrink by 60%, which is absolutely required to open the cleaning channels. And second, the glymphatic system doesn't fully activate. The result? Toxic proteins, like the sticky beta amyloid and tau, which are the hallmarks of Alzheimer's, accumulate. The long nap is literally stealing the cleaning time from the night, accelerating neurological decay.
That's a compelling argument regarding the mechanical destruction of the nightly cleanup crew. But have you considered what drives the nap in the first place? I'm sorry, but I don't buy that the nap is the main engine of the pathology. It seems more like the body's desperate attempt to mitigate a disaster already underway. The source material provides some pretty strong evidence that this excessive daytime sleeping is fundamentally a sickness behavior. It's explicitly linked to chronic systemic inflammation. Studies show nappers have significantly higher levels of C-reactive protein, or CRP, which is a major marker for systemic inflammation. In essence, the body is constantly trying to sedate itself to conserve energy for an immune battle it's losing. And furthermore, the massive urge to nap can be the brain trying to prevent a brownout from hypoperfusion caused by small vessel disease. Think of it like this. The tiny pipes seeing your brain are getting clogged, leading to a temporary fuel shortage. So the brain senses it's suffocating and forces a shutdown of consciousness to dramatically lower its metabolic demand. The long nap isn't a leisure activity. It's a flag waving over a brain that is on fire, indicating a need to check inflammatory markers or investigate vascular failure linked to those white matter hyperintensities we see on MRI scans. Stopping the nap without treating the systemic cause, it's like treating a fever without addressing the infection.
But doesn't the sheer mechanical destruction of the nightly cleaning cycle outweigh that initial systemic drive? How can you ignore that direct causal link? While systemic disease certainly creates the need for sleep, the biological mechanism, the glymphatic disruption, makes the resulting long nap actively harmful in a way that the initial inflammation doesn't immediately accomplish. Even if inflammation or vascular issues start the sequence, the nap is the specific behavior that destroys the essential nighttime cleaning phase. It accelerates the accumulation of those tau and beta amyloid proteins, which are the direct agents that kill neurons. Additionally, we have to address the behavioral risk. Waking up groggy and confused from sleep inertia after a long nap depletes valuable cognitive reserve, and critically, it significantly increases the risk of falls for seniors. The nap isn't a passive symptom. It creates immediate, tangible physical risks alongside that long-term chemical damage.
Right. I absolutely acknowledge the danger of sleep inertia and the criticality of glymphatic function. I do. But we have to weigh this against the systemic issues that are attacking the brain tissue directly. Small vessel disease doesn't just cause fatigue, it destroys white matter and causes tiny scars, mini strokes in the brain tissue. These are the powerful engines of chronic decline. If the brain is literally suffocating from microvascular ischemia, forcing it to stay awake when it is desperately trying to lower its metabolic demand, well, that might be counterproductive. The long nap might, paradoxically, be an ancient evolutionary strategy to survive extreme systemic duress. We have to be cautious about labeling a protective response as the primary pathological driver. And speaking of the behavioral side, let's pivot to what the patient actually complains about, the terrible quality of their nighttime sleep. You correctly identify that the long nap is the nighttime saboteur, that it causes insomnia by emptying the sleep pressure tank. But the urge to nap might also be driven by completely destroyed nighttime sleep quality due to a severe condition like sleep apnea. If a senior is stopping breathing dozens of times a night, they are chronically sleep deprived, and the nap is the inevitable and, necessary result. That requires a sleep study and treatment like a CPAP machine, not just a blanket restriction on daytime sleep.
That's an interesting point, though I would frame it differently. Ignoring the simple behavioral fix in favor of a complex diagnosis is dangerous when time is a factor in cognitive decline. By cutting the long nap, flag 1 being any duration over 60 minutes, one restores the sleep pressure, forcing the body to sleep deeply at night naturally. This homeostatic restoration is far safer than the immediate jump to prescribing sleeping pills, which, as the material notes, increase fall risk and confusion. The existence of the power nap protocol, that quick 10 to 20 minute reset timed between 1 and 3 p.m., proves that the duration is the key distinguishing factor. It's almost ironic, isn't it? The difference between a restorative brain booster and a pathological driver is literally 40 minutes of behavioral control. By adhering to this simple protocol, we use a behavioral lever to restore the natural nighttime cleaning cycle.
But we absolutely must look beyond the homeostatic drive and consider the tremendous psychological drivers. We cannot ignore the depression link here. When we talk about seniors, napping can be an escape mechanism or a sign of apathy related to decreased serotonin and dopamine, leading to loneliness and worsening depression, which is itself a major risk factor for dementia. The source describes a truly painful scenario. If a senior is napping because they have nothing else to do, because they are isolated, this is a psychiatric emergency. If the underlying cause is psychiatric or, related to social isolation, the intervention has to address those true drivers, social engagement, checking their mental health status, not just restrict the symptom that serves as their psychological refuge.
I agree. Depression and apathy are profound red flags. However, we must distinguish this psychological refuge from pathological fatigue. Pathological napping includes unintentional napping, falling asleep while watching TV or reading, and critically, napping that results in not feeling refreshed. Both of these unrefreshing types of naps are explicit neurological signs that the fatigue is caused by something systemic, inflammation, thyroid issues, or oxygen deprivation, rather than simple behavioral lack of sleep or even psychological avoidance. The long nap is simultaneously a symptom and the mechanism that exacerbates the primary drivers of decline, specifically the lack of essential nightly glymphatic clearance. That's why the counsel is sound. Seniors must adhere to the power nap protocol to avoid crossing that threshold into danger. The rhythm of life, day and night, is the essential blueprint for a healthy brain. When we break this rhythm by napping too long, we break our biology and we disable our cleaning crew. The prolonged nap is both a powerful indicator and an active contributor to the failure of the brain to maintain the energy required for long-term cognitive health. So the challenge is clear. Rest wisely to protect the mind.
And I maintain that the long nap is the brain sending an urgent signal that the body is struggling to survive against a systemic assault. while restricting the nap, especially past 60 minutes, is a necessary behavioral correction, the focus must immediately shift to diagnosing and treating the root pathologies: vascular failure, chronic inflammation, sleep apnea, or depression, which are the true underlying engines of neurological decline. We do agree that the relationship is an escalating feedback loop. The long nap is a fascinating convergence point where behavioral choices intersect with profound, often hidden underlying biology. Understanding why that afternoon habit can be so difficult to overcome requires us to look beyond simple fatigue and deep into the systemic failures of the body and mind.